Hello filmmakers, it's Carrie with Filmmaker Central, and today we're going to take a look at the Autel Lite Plus. It's a new drone from Autel, and I've been a big fan of Autel. I like their products, and let's see where this fits in to possibly your filmmaking, or does it? That's really the question, is what is this and who is it for? So let's start with, well, what is it? Well, it's a smaller drone than the EVO II Pro. So it's really right about the same size as a Mavic 3. It's a good size, but the first thing that you notice is there's no side obstacle avoidance. So it's got front and rear, and it's got the bottom sensor, but there's no side sensors like the EVO II Pro did. Okay, well, the EVO II Pro was a 6K 1-inch sensor. This is a 6K 1-inch sensor. EVO II Pro had adjustable aperture. This has adjustable aperture. EVO II Pro, you could change ND filters. Well, this one has ND filters. So pretty much identical camera as the EVO II Pro. May even be the same hardware, I'm not sure, but it does the same things, up to 6K at on a 1-inch sensor. It can also take 20 megapixel photos, and the photos are beautiful, and it's very, very stable. Here's some 8-second exposure shots. Super crisp, super clean, no motion blur. Okay, to be fair, I shot 4 photos. 3 of them turned out great. One of them had too much motion blur in it. Pretty impressive. That's, 75% success rate on 8-second exposure. The only other drone I have that I can consistently get 8-second exposure shots with is the DJI Mavic 3. So very, very impressive in this little guy. And usually the smaller, the lighter they get, the less they perform that stabilization because they just get tossed around in any wind. This thing does great. It can also shoot HDR video. That's a big plus. Has up to a 16 times digital zoom. Not something I care about, but for some people that could be important. It can do up to a 3 times lossless zoom. So if you're in 1080, you can zoom losslessly because it's a 6K sensor. So you can go 1080, 4K, 5K, 6K crop and get some really nice images. The product specification on the Autel website says DynamicTrack 2.1. There's no disclaimer anywhere, but I can tell you this, it doesn't have it. It says coming in a future firmware update. I was very disappointed that it wasn't included on the release. For all the hell people gave DJI for releasing the Mavic 3 without all the features, well, this little guy was released without all the features. Does not have DynamicTrack available. I was seriously bummed. I really, really wanted to try that out. Now it says it has level 7 wind resistance. Now if you don't know what these levels are, level 7 is 32 to 38 miles per hour, and you'll feel resistance in walking against the wind. Okay, can it do it? Well, yeah, it can fly in up to 38 miles an hour. I was flying it, according to my meter, up to 39 miles an hour at wind. Now the footage isn't usable. I'll show you some footage here. It was really throwing it around pretty hard. I had a little bit of trouble getting any speed out of it to get it back to the vehicle, but it flew, and it flew back to me. That was important. When I took off, the initial shots, there was almost no wind at all. And in the time that I was flying, this wind came out of nowhere, and it was really strong. It was gusts up to 39 miles an hour, and it flew. It didn't get thrown into a tree. It didn't get blown away. It flew. Unusable footage, but it flew. So I'm going to give it the level 7 wind resistance. 40 minutes of battery life, that's not something that I can test here in Colorado. The higher up in altitude you go, you have a problem with air density, or the altitude density. And the higher up you go, the less dense the air is. Therefore, the props need to spin faster, which means they go through battery faster. At our altitudes here, which I'm over 6,000 feet, most often we're flying in 8, 9, 10,000 feet, we're never going to see that best case scenario of 40 minutes. So I don't know. I'm not flying it at sea level in ideal conditions. I'm only getting 32-ish minutes at our altitudes. So take that for what it's worth. Understand the higher up you go, the less battery life you're going to get, and that absolutely is true. 3-way binocular vision sensors, as I said, front, back, bottom, 3-way. 7.4 miles of transmission range. Didn't test that. To be honest, didn't test it. Legally, I can't do it. I can't see this thing at a mile. I'm sure not going to fly it 7.4 miles to test the range. So, didn't give it a shot there. How does it fly? Well, I'm going to say it flies pretty darn good. It's a good little machine. It was very easy to control. I never went in and tried to change any of the controls. I don't even know if you can, but I didn't even bother because it flew really nice. I was very happy with it. So the flight characteristics are very tame, very nice, easy to fly, very easy to do manual orbits. It does have some of the automated features, kind of like the drone-y type stuff, and that stuff works pretty well. But I was very disappointed about not having DynamicTrack. Now the remote, it's interesting. I'm torn on this one because I really liked the other remote because it had the built-in screen on the EVO II Pro, so I didn't even need to put a phone on here unless I was going to use some of the automated features. I could just take off, get the shots, change some settings, and get a quick shot without having to worry about a phone. Here, I have to have a phone on it. Not the end of the world. I use an iPad or an iPhone 13 Max Pro or Pro Max, whatever you want to call it. Fits in here nice with a silicone case on it. No problem. The app seems to work just fine. Don't have any complaints. And the feel of this remote is really nice. I'm actually really impressed with how much I like this remote. It has a gimbal tilt wheel, a function button, your shutter, return to home, power, and pause, and USB-C on the bottom to charge it. Pretty simple. I like that. It has removable joysticks, which is entirely pointless because there is nowhere on here to store them. Why they wouldn't give you some little spot somewhere to store the joysticks when you're trying to shove it in a bag, that was the big fail on this. And there's nothing you can do about it. Now, if you want to use a different mount or a different device, like a iPad mini or something, or the Triple Tech, go to Original Dobo's site, and he has a system that will go on here that's really slick, and it has a place to store the joysticks. So there's that. Okay, let's talk more about the camera. As I said, it's a 1-inch CMOS sensor. It can have an aperture of f2.8 to f11, maximum ISO of 48,000. That's in its night scene mode, but ISO 48,000. And I will tell you, the night mode stuff looks great. I don't know how they're managing to do like real-time noise reduction on the footage, but it looks great. 3-axis mechanical gimbal, 20 megapixel photos, video up to 6K 30, tri-band image transmission, obstacle avoidance, forward, back, downward, portrait mode, it's just software cropping to do a portrait screen, where the other camera, the EVO Lite, this is the Lite Plus, the Lite, the sensor actually rotates to do portrait. On here, it's just a software gimmick. The app has rocket, orbit, flick, fade, away. 6 gigs of built-in storage. There is no mission planning on here. This is not going to be a mapping drone. Okay, phew, got all that out of the way. Let's talk package. What do you get? This is the premium package. You get a backpack, you get the charger, a 3-port charging hub. You get a total of 3 batteries. Here's the extra batteries. You get the remote control, you get the aircraft, you get a cover, and you get a 4-pack of ND filters. Super rad. I'm totally digging on that. And you get a variety of cables to go to different mobile devices. $16.49. Now that seems like it's on the high end of the price scale, but that's everything. It's everything you need. If you go with an EVO II Pro, a Mavic 3, if you get an all-in package like this, you're well over $2,000. So this is in the $500 less range than going with an EVO II Pro or a Mavic 3. So it's a nice in-between. Now there's also the Nano series, which is even lower end, that like sub 250 gram stuff. I haven't played around with one of those yet, but this is in the middle between like the DJI Mavic Mini and the Autel Nano, and then your Mavic 3 and EVO II Pro. Sits real nicely in the middle. Okay, let's talk about footage. Footage is awesome. I love it. It's absolutely gorgeous footage. I'm very happy with the footage, except there's no log. There's no Cinelike. It's just out of the camera. That's what you get. You're good. And it's beautiful footage. Don't get me wrong. I really haven't had any complaints about needing to color grade it or tweak it. The color science is spot on. Very, very happy with it. Got no complaints. I personally like dealing with log so I can match with other cameras because I'm shooting ground footage and other stuff. But as a drone, the footage from here is spot on. Absolutely gorgeous. Autel has nailed the color science on this guy. It is beautiful footage. So at the end of this, I'll do a long clip with a bunch of different scenes so you can see a variety of different shots that I took with the Lite Plus. So overall, who is it for? Well, it's not for your pros. It's not for your higher end guys who want to mess with 10-bit color, D-Log, and all that stuff. But it's for just the step down from that. Where you don't want to do the color grading, but you want really good footage. You want some beautiful stuff, and you want good flight characteristics, maybe a couple of the intelligent flight modes. Eventually, someday, hopefully, we'll have DynamicTrack. This is a good consumer up to prosumer drone without going that next step of being a professional quality drone with mission planning, D-Log, or the log profile that they have on here. So it's right at the top of that consumer market. I think it fits in there very, very well. You want a solid, good flying, fantastic camera with no processing needed to get beautiful footage. This is the way to go. It's a gorgeous bird, gorgeous footage. So $16.49, and I recommend that you get it from my good friends over at Multicopter Warehouse in Colorado. I'll put a link right here so you can go right to their site. Tell them that Carrie from Filmmaker Central sent you. Thanks for watching, everybody. This has been my review. Stay tuned to watch some footage of the Autel Lite Plus. Thanks for watching, everybody. Please like, share, and subscribe. Press that bell icon to get notified every time I put out a video. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.